All right, we're on to Victor Vroom's theory. It's an expectancy theory. Expectancy theory says that people's behaviors result from conscious choices among alternatives. Okay, that would be a good place to stop that sentence. But because it's an expectancy theory and because it came out of motivation theory, which is a very biological approach, we have to have variables, right? So we have V, I, and E. Okay. V is valence. That is the expected level of satisfaction that will be derived from the outcome. So let's think about you're graduating. Some of you are, congratulations. But so let's say you're graduating and you've already got, you're putting out for jobs and things. And when you see the salary level, let's say, and you think, oh, I would be X amount of satisfied if I were to earn that amount of money straight out of college. X amount of satisfaction. If you're a psych major, you're supposed to apply a number to every experience. So you have X amount of satisfaction that you expect to have if you were to have that income level. Or maybe you are more concerned about like work-life balance things. And so you see a job that has, the kinds of hours and the ability to work in the style that you like, and you have X amount of satisfaction that you expect to have if you were to have a job that was like that. That's valence, right? So how much satisfaction you think you would get from that outcome. Instrumentality refers to the perceived relationship between performance of the behavior and the likelihood that the outcome will result. So sticking with, let's say, salary. So if you believe that if you were to do the number of hours per week of expected work, that you would have X amount of dollars coming to you, right? You have this perception, this belief in your instrumentality, your ability to do the hours of work per week that would result in that outcome, that income that you're expecting. And then the expectancy is your belief about the likelihood of achieving the performance level when exerting some effort. So can I do the work? Can I sustain that number of hours per week so that I can get that outcome that I like, and so on. So it's valence is sort of how you'll feel. Instrumentality is sort of talking about your ability to do it. And then expectancy is you're sort of assessing the likelihood that you're going to be able to do what it takes to get that thing that you want. So motivation is a multiplicative function, according to Vroom. And so if any one of these things is zero, if you say, I don't think I can, you're not going to have any motivation, because any one of those being a zero, you're going to multiply them out and everything becomes a zero. So if you think, for example, I don't really want that level of income, well, it doesn't matter whether you think you have the ability or that given the ability that you'd actually get that salary, you're like, I don't want it. So why would I bother working for it? So motivation goes down to zero pretty quickly. Now, as long as everything's at least a 1, then you have, a chance of being satisfied, right? So knowing that all it takes is 1 0 to reduce motivation to 0, organizations can influence motivation by rectifying whatever that weakest factor is. It's not probably going to be the same for every single employee, but okay, they oftentimes go after the valence and they're like, well, we'll pay a really good salary, or we'll have work conditions that people seem to like. We'll have a really great break room with free food that you can eat whatever you want. Like they're trying to make something that you would be satisfied with that outcome. So they have a lot of control over that. Instrumentality. So can the employee do what it takes? Well, again, organizations have some control over that because they can provide training so that you can take an employee who has like the little nubbin of ability, and you can build them into someone who has the full ability to do the thing. And you may notice in certain job listings, if you look at them, they say things like, we're willing to train, or we have a full training package, or things like that. And what they're trying to do is encourage applicants who maybe you're thinking, I don't know, I've never done anything exactly like that. Don't worry, we will teach you. You will have what it takes to be able to produce the outcome that you want. And then expectancy. This gets at whether you kind of trust that if you do what you're supposed to do, that you will get the outcome, right? And again, this is something that the organization can have control over, which is, being reliable and paying, being honest about what the situation's going to be. Don't bait and switch people and things like that. So organizations have some ability to control some of these things, and then of course the employee has some ability to control these things, right? By seeking out training, by doing their homework to make sure that they enter into relationships with organizations that have got a track record of being predictable and things like that. So it's kind of on both sides you can do things. And maybe the valence, I'd be really super satisfied with X amount of dollars per year. But then also notice they expect 60 hours a week. Or here's a pro tip. A job on salary, they will not tell you it's really 60 hours a week. But the problem with a salaried job is that you sometimes work more hours than you would if you were on an hourly job. So just be wary of that. I'm salaried and I work all the time. So just don't be like me. All right. Sorry, I'm a little giddy today. It's been a long week. Anyway, self-regulation theories. Maybe I should regulate myself more. Get it together. Okay. In self-regulation theories, they argue that motivation is linked to how individuals monitor their own behaviors and make adjustments in the pursuit of goals. So see what the key thing is here: monitoring their own behaviors and adjusting, right? That's self-regulation. That's true whether you're talking about emotions or you're talking about work behavior. That's self-regulation, monitoring your own behavior and then making adjustments. Really the focus here is on what we call will. You might have heard the phrase willpower, right? That's a self-regulation thing, right? Willpower is the ability to, forego those, delicious looking desserts, or willpower is the ability to resist wanting to kick back on the couch and instead going ahead and taking that walk or that run that you had told yourself you were going to do. That's willpower, right? And that's true for work as well. So under the self-regulation theories, we have goal-setting theory, social cognitive theories, and control theories to talk about. So with goal-setting theory, which Edwin Locke was the first one to introduce this in 1968, effort leads to performance. Performance leads to the acquisition of intrinsic rewards, which I already talked about, and then extrinsic rewards. And those are things like pay and recognition and stuff like that. And those things lead to the achievement of your personal goals. And so at the little arrow between effort and performance, that's your opportunity for goal setting and feedback. Before you have performed the task or been assessed, you can set your goals and look for feedback about how well you've achieved the goals ahead of time. You also have opportunity and ability that kind of intervene between effort and performance. And role clarity. This is something in the workplace that is really can be motivating and demotivating depending on how things are going. Because in role clarity, we're talking about whether you really know what you are supposed to be doing in your job. How to avoid what we call mission creep, which is where you start taking on tasks that are not part of your job, but then they start to become expectations because you've been doing them, right? So you're going above and beyond, and then suddenly it stops being above and beyond, and now it's just sort of, now it's what we expect. And that's because your role wasn't clear. It's really, really a good practice in organizations to have like work loads where you sort of define who's doing what, so that it doesn't turn out that people aren't clear on who's supposed to be doing what things, who's playing what role, things like that. So role clarity is one of those things that can intervene between how much you're willing to expend effort and how well you perform. Goals affect behavior in a few ways. One is directing attention to the task. So if you've got a goal, you tend to be more aware of what tasks it will take to achieve the goal, right? Because you know what your goal is. When you don't know what your goal is, you're just sort of going through motions and doing your thing, and you're sort of, I'm not sure even why I'm doing this, honestly. But you're focused on the task more if you know what your goal is. It mobilizes your on-task efforts. You tend to do more of the things that are relevant to the goal and fewer of the things that are irrelevant. And again, that's where that role clarity thing can come in too, because if it's clear that this is my role and this is my goal, oh, I want to say something else that rhymes. Oh, I won't get stuck in a hole. I don't want to be doing so many of these extraneous tasks that I don't have the effort and the energy to pursue the things that are relevant to the thing I'm trying to actually accomplish. I'm going to tilt that a little bit. Okay. It also enables persistence. When you have a goal and you know you're getting close to it, you may actually, work really hard for a while there to get that goal. You've written papers, you've read to the end of the chapter, and you're almost there. You're more persistent when you recognize what the goal is and how close you are to it, right? So you tend to persist more. And it also helps a person facilitate the development of more sophisticated strategies for achieving that goal. So maybe combining some tasks or delegating some tasks or doing something else to make the goal more achievable. So having goals is a very motivating thing. And so goal setting theory accounts for all that. All right, social cognitive theories. Hey, you might have seen this theorist before, Albert Bandura. He was famous for the Bobo doll studies in the 1960s, where he asserted that watching televised aggression may contribute to later aggression. Well, he also did research that was relevant to the workplace. He, in the 80s, was doing a lot of research on self-regulation. And so now it's a pyramid, but it's not Maslow's theory. Here's a pyramid or a triangle, I guess, where we've got motivation in the middle. And then we've got these factors that can, all feed into your motivation. You've got the behaviors that you're engaging in. You've got the environmental factors that would be feedback and rewards and stuff like that. And then you've got the personal factors, your own natural, whatever you are, characteristics, right? And I put little double-headed arrows on the little graphic to illustrate that behavior influences your personal characteristics and your personal characteristics influence your behavior. And, so and so back and forth for all of these three characteristics that he talked about. So he thought there was kind of a flow to self-regulation. First off, self-observation, paying attention to your own behavior. Some of us are higher in that than others of us. There's a characteristic called self-monitoring. How much you tend to observe your own self. Some people are higher on self-monitoring to the point where they might be inhibited because they're so concerned about how they appear to other people. And then some people are really low self-monitoring to the point where they may almost be behaving as if they are responding to hallucinations or something, right? Some people are just really, really low and some people are really, really high, probably being, moderate's a good idea. But that kind of self-observation can lead then to self-evaluation, which again, some people can be like crippling in their self-evaluation. They are their own harshest critic and make themselves super inhibited. Other people are a lot more favorable and are more likely to display self-serving biases where they tend to give themselves a lot of grace, which is good. That's sort of the healthier thing to do, but all of us can be self-critical. Self-reactions, now this is us inside of ourselves reacting to our own self-evaluation. So are we feeling good about how we evaluated ourselves? Are we feeling negatively? Are we thinking bad thoughts about this specific case, or are we thinking bad thoughts about ourselves in general? Okay, so I lost my job. Do I then self-evaluate that the reason why I lost my job is because I'm a loser? That's going to make me have a bad self-reaction that's going to be pretty generalized. I'm a loser. I lost this job. It's just one manifestation of what a loser I am. As opposed to if you lose your job and your self-evaluation is, they didn't appreciate what a great employee I was. I'll find something better. I was thinking about leaving anyway. This has pushed me off it's got me going. I'm going to go. If you have that kind of self-evaluation, your reaction is going to be a lot more positive, right? Now, we all have a moment where we might need to feel sorry for ourselves and lick our wounds if we were to get fired. But what I'm talking about is sort of over the long term, days and weeks after the firing. How are we still reacting? And so some of us have a tendency to have more negative self-evaluations and then to have more intense self-reactions than others of us. this flow helps to determine our self-efficacy expectations. So our perception of our ability to complete a task or attain a goal in the future is influenced by all this that we've said to ourselves about our past behavior, the thing we just completed. So some people, for example, after they've completed high school, they think they can't go to college because they say, well, I didn't do very well in high school, so I must be dumb. I must not be up to the task. I'm, bad things. So I'm not going to go to college because, I went to little college, that was called high school, and I didn't do well in that, so I'm sure I won't be able to go to college. All of us who have been in college all know college and high school are not, they're like about as disparate as they can get. Another word that I pronounce incorrectly, I think it's disparate. Anyway, about as different as they can get, right? But a person who's had a bad experience in what they believe to be a similar situation might undermine their own self-efficacy about entering into another situation like that. People who have had a good experience in the past may generalize and believe I will be able to do well in a similar situation in the future. So self-efficacy is dependent on these factors that we just discussed in this flow. So these last two steps are really the primary sources of our motivation. These last two things, how are we reacting to our self-evaluation, and how is that influencing our self-efficacy about our future behaviors? And so if our self-reactions and our resultant self-efficacy expectations are positive, we tend to be more motivated. We think, yeah, I'm going to be able to do that. And I want to do it because I think I'm going to be successful and I think I'm going to get the outcomes I want and positive thoughts. If we've gone down a negative pathway and our reaction is bad, our self-efficacy will go down. All right, well, that was Bandura's idea. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll come back and talk about control theory in the next video.